All right, welcome back everybody. So today's the official kickoff to the 6-speed swap. First thing I'm gonna do is start taking apart like the shifter knob. I'm also going to take out the front seats and that whole center console, mainly to get to the transmission tunnel, because we are gonna have to cut out the old tunnel and then add that patch panel on there for the new ZF6. So mainly I'm gonna try to get as much out as I can without taking the whole interior out. So front seats, center console, that whole side piece of the center console, maybe the carpet, I'm not sure. But for right now, we'll get that stuff out of there and get the shifter freed up so we can get everything out from the bottom. All right, as you can see, since the shifter's right there, obviously the seats, center console, all that stuff's gonna come out. So we'll go ahead and start at the bottom of the driver's seat here. All right, so in front of each seat track here, there's these little plastic covers, and they have little push retainers. So I'm just gonna rock that out with a flathead, and then get a pair of side cutters like this. Pull that out. That's what that looks like. That just slides right out. Same on the other side. All right, once they're out of the way, you'll see down there are the bolts holding the seat track in. So we're gonna go ahead and take these off and then move the seat forward and go to the ones in the back. Okay, so I'm gonna use a open end 13mm here. This also has a ratcheting box end. So I'm gonna just go ahead and loosen this side. Then do the same thing over here. All right, so now I'm going to just move the seat all the way forward. And now we'll be able to get to those bolts right there with just an extension and a ratchet. Okay, so now I have the seat up in the front here, and this is the one connector here that we gotta disconnect so we can get it out. All right, so I just want to show you what that connector looks like. It has a release tab on either side of it here. One there, and then one there. So you just use a flathead, push them aside, and it'll slide right out. Okay, now that everything's unbolted and the connector's disconnected, you can just go ahead and lift it right out of the car. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same thing with the passenger seat. All right, so with the passenger seat, I'm able to use a swivel, a 13mm, and a long extension to get right down here on this front bolt. Okay, now I'm just going to move the seat forward and then get to the back bolts. Since this is a manual seat on the passenger side, you don't have to worry about unplugging any connectors or anything. All right, so I just want to give you an idea what it looks like with the seat out. So all it is just 4 studs sitting up from the floor, 1 connector on the driver's side, same thing on the passenger side, 4 studs, no connector. So fairly easy. Okay, now I'm going to take the shifter off. First thing you do, either one of these 4+3s or the 6-speed, you're just going to pry this top piece out. like that, and then in there is this metal like bar. So you can either go on either side slowly, pry it up like this. It doesn't take much and it comes right out. Almost looks like a T there. And at that point, this will just unscrew. That, take the spring out here. Okay, now I'm going to move some of this console trim out of the way. I'm going to start by moving this piece here just so I can get to the bottom console shifter trim first. So there's a screw on the side here. There's one over here, and then two at the bottom. So you may have to remove or loosen the gauge cluster trim over here. And there's two screws on either side. So there, this piece here actually sits behind the gauge cluster trim. So take these two screws out and then you might be able to just loosen it and slide it out like I just did. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to take these screws out here, up top, and over here. There is technically two that go back here. This car does not have them. So we'll go ahead and start getting those out and get this plate up. Okay, so I have to remove this reverse lock piece. See, that just pulls straight up. There's a long rod like that. Let's get that out of the way. And we can kind of lift this up. Now there's going to be a wire back here for your cigarette lighter. Just going to unplug that. Pull that out of the way. You can see it's just two connectors on either end for that. Now that plate out of the way, I just want to show you in here. So this is the actual rod when you have to put it in reverse to get the key out of the ignition. So this is the rod that actually goes up over to the column here. So I'm going to disconnect that for now. And then there's these two 10mm bolts here to take this console piece out. We're just going to work on getting all this out because we have to take these side pieces out too just to access this tunnel here. Okay, now I got the center console armrest open. I'm going to take all these 7mm bolts out and get this off. And then there's a couple around here I'm going to take off too. So there is a wire back here, so I'm just going to hang this over this way for right now. Get these. All right, now I'm going to remove this side piece here. So I took out these two top 7mm and I did take this Phillips screw out here. So there is a piece underneath here that has two Phillips heads in it. And I believe there's a 7mm up here to get this out. I'm also going to take off this bottom lower dash. Just gonna hang that there for now. It looks like there's two 13mm bolts underneath this lower piece. I can remove this. And that should give me some clearance to get up here. There's also a screw here and here. This one's missing, but I'm gonna take this one out too. It also looks like this hood release handle here, this trim piece, these two, and then there's one right in here too we're going to take out. Alright, so this piece just slides down now and it'll slide straight out. Now this does have the diagnostic connector on it, which we can unscrew too. So I am going to end up pulling out this lower panel. There is a nut back here. This had a wing nut that secured this up there. So I'm not sure what that is supposed to be from the factory. I don't think that's it, but there's something back there. And then this will just slide straight forward. And there's one light here. Pull that out. Okay, so inside the armrest here, there is this little trim piece here that pops out. There's just 4 little retainers. And then here is the lock for your armrest. And this is actually 8 mil, even though everything else is 7 mil. This is 8 mil, so we're going to take this little arm off. So there's a little washer, the arm, and then the bolt. Also, while you're in here, this piece here pops out, and then in here is the connector for the light underneath the armrest lid. You just push this piece in here, pull that out. All right, now that I got this piece on the back and the lock unhooked, you can move this out here. So I was mistaken about there being a 7 mil up here. I think that is in the later ones, like late 80s, early 90s, has its one up here. Right there is a screw. This little tab here to prevent it from going outwards. So what we're gonna do is lift this out here to clear that, and then lift straight up like that. And then we'll just pull this up out of here. Now we just pull it straight out. All right, so inside the armrest console part, I had to peel this back, and you'll see a little cover here, and this one came up with the material, and there's a 7 mil here and then 1 in here. So on the other side of this material too, there's another 2 of these little covers. So we're going to take those up so we can get this main console piece out, and I'm also going to remove these switches. Okay, so I'm on the side of the actual power seat switch here. There are 2 screws that hold the connector in, or the actual switch assembly. So I'm gonna just take those out real quick. And this will actually just come right out. Now the little piece comes out like that, and then this piece just pops in here like that. So you just gotta be careful of this stuff because it's old and brittle. And I also did disconnect one of the switches here just so I can get this up a little higher. All right, so I lifted up the center console here, and I'm gonna disconnect the button for the trunk. And I'm gonna disconnect the window switches by just pulling them up. So you're going to want to slowly, gently pry in between the connector and the switch, kind of evenly all the way around it, and just slowly rock it off of there. That's what that looks like there. And do the other side, the passenger side, and then we'll be able to lift the console out. All right, now it'll just pull straight up and out. Okay, now let's look at the shifter real quick, and now you know why you have to get that patch panel pretty much, because you're gonna have to cut out pretty much all of this once we get the shifter out, just to put the new piece of the tunnel in. So now that I have all the interior out, what I did was I separated everything and I bagged and tagged every little screw that came off, so everything kind of stays with each panel, so I know where everything is. By the time I put this thing back together, I'll have everything where it needs to. So it's just a good little tip if you're taking your car apart for a big project. All right, so we're off to a good start. As you can see, all that stuff's gonna come out just to access that shifter area in the tunnel. So next time we'll work on unhooking the shifter and then working on the underneath of the car and getting everything out. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.